Hello everyone, and welcome to the weekly Alexander Hamilton Report. We are here today with a very special guest, one of my fellow founding fathers and a man who disagrees with me immensely, Mr. Thomas Jefferson.
Hello, Mr. Hamilton. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Today, we are going to be discussing a recent movement called Occupy Wall Street. The movement, which originated in New York, has been going on for a month and a half now and has spread to over 100 cities nationally and over 1,500 cities worldwide. Do you have any opening remarks on the subject, Mr. Jefferson?
Well, as you might know, I love a little rebellion now and again because it gives the people the opportunity to exercise their right to protest, and is good for the government because it helps them stay in line with the wants and needs of the people.
Excuse me. That is simply incorrect. These protests could eventually form mob rule, which could eventually overthrow the government and threaten the stability of the nation.
Oh my God, let me finish. No matter what the cause, any rebellion displays that the spirit of liberty is alive. But I think it is necessary to talk about the specifics. After viewing the protest for a couple of weeks now, what do you think about the rebellion?
Well, over the last few weeks, I've actually been upset with the protest. One of the protesters' main arguments is that the government should not have bailed out the banks. However, if we were to have left the banks and big corporations fail, then we would be unable to hold government deposits, handle payments of debts, and issue bonds that would circulate as a stable and uniform currency. These exact issues were prominent some years ago during the time when America was governed by the Articles of Confederation. During this time, there was no centralized bank on which the country could rely on. So when I became Secretary of Treasury under President Washington, I helped establish a national bank in 1791. Do you have any concerns yourself?
Well, as of now, we can see that there's no individual leader of the protest, so I'm happy. But I fear that soon one person will take charge of the protest and become a leader of this movement, and his followers will go against the government. If the movement succeeds and takes over the government, then we will live by a country ruled by tyranny.
I see that. However, although motives behind these protests are completely flawed, the idea of not writing down their specific demands is ingenious. By not expressing their specific ambitions, the protesters are attracting a wider appeal of people, and they are not limiting themselves to a specific amount of goals in which they can achieve. Similarly, in the Constitution, I was against strictly stating the rights of the people because I felt that this would limit their rights.
As you might know, I'm quite the opposite. From the time I received my copy of the Constitution while I was serving as ambassador in France, I strongly opposed not having a Bill of Rights as a part of it. I sent a letter back to Madison and I urged him to lobby for a Bill of Rights because it is so important that we list the specific rights of the people to protect their essential liberties against infringement by the government. Furthermore, the Occupy Wall Street movement is not the first time the United States has seen these demands for debt relief. The same demand was made approximately 200 years ago during Shays' Rebellion. And although Shays' army was crushed by a private army, and no Caesar or Cromwell emerged, the story did not end there. Shays' Rebellion was all about debt relief, which is a major demand of the Occupy Wall Street protesters today. Debt forgiveness is nothing more than stealing from a large number of people to satisfy the demand of a small but vocal group. The protesters might claim that they're the 99%, but in reality, they're in the top percentile of wealth worldwide.
There can be no comparison between these two events. They happened hundreds of years apart under different governments. In Shays' Rebellion, the central government did not have enough power, such as the power to raise taxes. But today, in the Occupy Wall Street movement, people are upset because the government has too much power and is too involved in the economy.
These movements have everything to do with each other. The 99% is comparable to the indebted farmers, both groups suffering from debt, rebelling against the government to show that the government is out of sync with the will of the people. It's so clear, they're so similar.
No. Well, now that you bring that up, I would have to say that this Occupy Wall Street is actually more similar to the Whiskey Rebellion of 1790. You see, in both cases, the people were protesting that the government had too much power. Back then, they were saying that the government should not have the right to make new taxes, and now they are complaining the government should not have interfered with the economy. These people will never be happy. The government shall put down this revolution the same way it did over 200 years ago, with force through a strong centralized government.
No, that is not the solution. The government has to listen to the people. How are you going to say that this country is a republic if the government does not listen to the will of the people? It is necessary to put an emphasis on individual freedoms, not from the idea that the individual can do whatever they please, but that each person should be free of government intrusion. One's pursuit of happiness should be a personal choice. The government must not interfere in the economy, and they must fix the mess that they have already made, and give the people debt relief.
Well, that's all the time we have today, folks. Tune in next week. Same place, same time. Thank you very much, and hope to see you next week. Goodbye.